All right, Christopher, we have some activity percolating on the hot stove. This from the Dodgers last night. Welcome back, Blake. As in Blake Treinen, the Dodgers have re-signed Blake to a 2-year deal worth roughly $17.5 million. Reportedly, it goes through the 2022 season, a team option for the 2023 campaign. Treinen pitched pretty well for the Dodgers last year. As you remember, Chris, he signed a 1-year, $10 million deal. Made 11 postseason appearances, closed out that Game 5 after the faux pas by Jansen in Game 4, which leads me to this. All right, Treinen's back. They trade for Corey Knebel, who missed all last year, due to injury. But both these guys, plenty of closing experience, which begs the question, with just 1 year left on his contract, does Kenley Jansen go into 2021 as the established Dodgers closer?
Well, I mean, listen. I think they say that he is because they want to give him due respect, and he'll get his chances to do that because of who he is and the fact he's making $20 million. But in a big game, where I'm not talking about a game in May that nobody cares about. I'm talking about a big game. In a big game where he's in a pennant race in September, or they're trying to whatever it might be. It's going to be Dave Roberts will handle it a little different. He'll go with the hot hand. Last year, of course, in the World Series against Atlanta, too, he did Urias, who did a tremendous job for him. He'll go with the hot hand in big spots. But will they tell us on April 1st that Jansen's our closer? Well, why wouldn't they? Of course they would. He's making $20 million. He's got a lot of stature within the organization. He's a good guy. He takes... he tells you when it's his fault. He did a great job when he had that blown save in Game 4 against Tampa, when he met the media after the game. So they will say he's the closer, but you and I both know in a big spot for them over a long year, they will do everything they can to get the 3 outs. And if Jansen isn't pitching well, they will not go to him. As simple as that. So they will not be tied to any closer scenario in L.A. They have a lot of arms out there, and they will utilize as they see fit.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting with the Dodgers, as it is the last 4 world champions for that matter, Chris. As you said, they yanked Jansen from that role. As I just mentioned, Treinen closed out the 2-run game in Game 5, and Orioles closed out Game 6. And here you see a montage, if you will, of the other 3 championships immediately preceding what the Dodgers did. And they all had to go a different route than initially intended at the closer's role. It begs the question, is that role in and of itself being somewhat marginalized compared to how we used to view it?
In the postseason, not in the regular season, because you can't use Chris Sale to get outs in regular season games. But in the postseason, you do everything you can in big spots to get to 27 outs. Regular season, you know what? You live with what you got in the bullpen. You try to go to a closer. You run with the hot hand. That's a different scenario. But a team like the Dodgers, a team like the Red Sox, when they're going good, the Yankees have Chapman to make any difference with Britton. But those teams will use anybody at their disposal to win games. The teams that try to get through the regular season handle a little differently. They give the one guy a chance, and then when they get to the big game, if that guy isn't pitching good, they go to a starter to get the outs. And that's really the way to go. So, listen, the Astros in 2018 learned that. Probably Cole should have pitched a couple of innings to close out that Game 7 against Washington. You saw Sale. You saw Charlie Morton. We know what the Dodgers did. So I think that you will see in big games down the road in postseason, the move is now to use your best pitcher to close out World Series spots. I think you will see that going forward. I really do.
Okay, so look, we have Chapman, we had Jansen, and they got their $80+ million contracts in recent years, and then the Yankees re-upped Britton for whatever it was, about $40 million over 3 years. But they're the Yankees, and they're the exception, not the rule. They can afford to pay setup men like that. So what does that mean for a guy like Liam Hendriks, who is getting his probably one and only bite at the apple here at age 31, coming off a couple of big years as the A's closer? Are we, at the point now where we're not going to be paying a premium for that role, seeing what we've seen for the better part of the last half decade now?
You still have to win games, Bruce. You still have to win games. See, the Yankees and the Dodgers, they know they're going to be in the playoffs. So they don't. They're in the postseason. I mean, what, the Yankees aren't going to make the postseason in 2021, the Dodgers? They're in the postseason every year, those teams. But a team like Kansas City or, even to a certain degree now, Houston, the Indians, they need somebody to get them through 6 months of baseball and need somebody to go out there, twice a week, 3 times a week to get it saved, to get 3 outs. So Hendricks will still have his opportunity to do that. You're comparing, will he go to the Yankees? No. Will he go to the Dodgers? No. You're right. He won't go to those kind of teams. But there's only a couple of those teams anyway. But he will go to, there's a variety of teams that have playoff aspirations that don't have the wherewithal to bring in a $200 million pitcher to get 3 outs. Don't have 5 guys in a bullpen like the Yankees could go to Britain if Chapman doesn't have it, which they will do this year. So they still need the guy to get the outs. So from that standpoint, Hendricks will get his contract. And he was impressive last year. He did an excellent job. He pitched a 40-pitch outing one game against the White Sox. He barely got through it, but he did. And in the game Oakland won against Houston in the postseason at Dodger Stadium, he was great in the game and showed a lot of guts. He's got that Australian rules football mentality. And, he's a bulldog. So I would think that Hendricks, I think that's a good signing. I think Hendricks will get his money. Reminds me a little bit of Rod Beck, the old former Giant. He goes out there, he don't care, he'll get the outs, and he's a little carefree about it, and I think that's the way you got to be anyway. The big teams don't worry about the big closers. They got 1 million guys, and they got so much money they can maneuver. The other teams don't have that ability. So as a result, Hendricks will be important in big situations.